Welcome to the Erik Williamson Show. This is episode number 36. I'm your host, Erik Williamson. On the show, I sit down with experts, authors, and practitioners in business, sales, trading, and investing. The goal is to go beyond theory with real-world experience, lessons learned, and practical insights you can actually use. Disclaimer: this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. This is not financial, legal, tax advice, or services. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Always do your own research, consult with a licensed financial professional, tax professional, legal professional before making any decisions. Today, I'm joined by Oz, who is actually a trading business loan brokers, and he's very well successful and established. I'm so glad in this conversation we'll talk about what he does and how he helps people and any insights. So with that, leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and let's get started. So it's so nice to have you on, Oz. I know we talked briefly a little bit before, but what what makes your business so good about trading loan brokers? Because I've actually always been interested in doing that, learning more about that because that is a good business doing business loans. You help a lot of business owners.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Eric. Yeah, how it started out for me is I accidentally got involved into alternative lending. So I was selling like credit card processing, like the POS systems, like those touchscreen systems for restaurants in New York City. And then through my networking, I came across a guy, happened to be like a business loan broker in the alternative lending industry. He wanted to build some kind of referral relationship. He said, "Oh, as you work with businesses, I fund them, would it help?" I was like, heck yeah, because I'm selling expensive products. Like at the time, it was like 25,000 or so, my systems. And all these businesses are telling me I don't have the money to buy it. Could you guys finance? Right. So, anyways, we tag team. He funded one of my customers and he handed me a check for $4,000. And obviously, that I was like,
Right.
oh, now you got my attention because prior to that, I wasn't really paying attention to what he was saying. I'm like, sure, I'll refer you a business. You refer me a business. We make a couple of $100, but it ended up being like a big check. That was like a wake up call for me. I'm like, wow, whatever I'm doing, this guy's making a lot more money, and we're both on the street. So like cold calling, telemarketing, I got into it, started funding deals and understanding the alternative lending industry, and then I noticed, it sucks to be on the streets and telemarketing, cold calling, getting leads that way. I got to learn how to do this online. So I started taking a bunch of courses on online marketing, learn email marketing, paid ads. Then I noticed that I can have a marketing agency and do lead gen for the alternative lenders, like people who are the big broker shops, right? So then I evolved into creating a marketing agency and I started creating YouTube videos telling them, hey, you have a room full of people dialing all day long. I can do 3 times the volume of them, which is me, like our marketing efforts, right? But something weird happened. I started attracting a lot of people who are not from the industry. They were like similar to you. It was like, oh, I always wanted to know about business lending. How does that work? Can you teach me? And I kept saying, no, I don't do that. This is for people, established people. Then I started having like a developing an email list. And one day, I think we had a few hundred people on the email list, like they're waiting for some kind of training. I said, hey, what I can do is I don't have time to do anything else. If you guys want to jump on a Zoom call once a week for like the next 8 weeks, I can answer questions and walk you through what I do. And here's the price. I think it was like 897 or something like that. All of a sudden, we had like 30 people buy it overnight, right? I was like, holy cow, this is interesting. Then I started going through the training, and that was back in 2018. And fast forward to today, we're Business Lending Blueprint, the largest training company in U.S., educating, training, and helping people become business loan brokers. And that's kind of my backstory of how I got involved. So business loan brokers basically are the middleman between the business and the startup who needs capital and the lenders who want to give money, basically, right? So they have a bunch of money. Either it could be a VC firm or someone with money, or it could be a local bank who are into alternative lending. And as the broker, you facilitate that relationship and you make a commission return.
My question is, how's a loan broker better than working for a bank? Because I worked at banks, I worked at the major banks. How's a loan broker going to be better than that as far as opportunity wise?
Well, one is a job, the other one is an entrepreneurship journey. So it depends on who you're talking to. For some people, job is better than being an entrepreneur. But the main difference is, I mean, you worked at a bank, right? So currently, the banking system is kind of designed to provide funding to a lot more established businesses, like the mid-sized businesses, large-sized businesses. But when you look at the economy, 70% of the US economy is from small businesses, right? Small mom and pop. When it comes to banking, statistically speaking, the decline rate, disapproval rate on small business loan applications are over 80% from the bank, right? So they want tax returns, they want collateral usually, and things like that. And these companies either don't have it, or they don't want to provide it, or they don't have that much time in business just yet. So that gave birth to what we do, alternative lending. So if bank funding was covering that gap, obviously we wouldn't be in business. So banks would just do it, and you would go for a bank and be okay with it. So I think the target audience is much different. If you're working for, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously you work there, right? So the funding options are a lot more limited to small businesses. And if someone doesn't even have a revenue, like true startup funding almost doesn't exist. Versus alternative lending, we have over 12 different funding options. So if someone wants to work at a bank, I don't even know how much they make there and whatnot. But this is like an entrepreneurial journey where you can have a funding business without you providing the funding. You just become the middle guy. So like quite different things.
Yeah, when I worked at the bank, they have a lot of red tape. They wanted collateral on your
Yeah.
primary residence, which I think is very dangerous for business owner because businesses can fail not at their fault because of regulations or things
Yes.
change. And putting your house as collateral is I don't recommend that at all. Uh, and also too with business loan brokers, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, do they offer sometimes loans like no personal guarantee if the business is pretty established and doing pretty well?
Correct. Yeah. So we have all kinds of flexibility that the banks cannot and will not have because they look at their balance sheet. They want collateral. Yeah. If you're looking at a business who does like, I don't know, 50 million a year and they have a board of directors and they have a bunch of properties, yeah, they should go to a bank to do it because they can find a package that's good for them. But someone who's running a deli shop or they have a trucking company, first of all, like you said, they shouldn't be putting up their house because business is unpredictable sometimes. And look at the failure rate of the businesses, right? You're kind of playing a gamble. The other thing is a lot of times, Eric, these companies need money like today, like in 2 days, 3 days. When we looked into, like, for example, take Wells Fargo, I don't know what bank you used to work for. The average business application process sometimes would take 4 to 6 weeks. And most of the time, they would send a decline letter and they would offer a lot less than what the business is looking for. So it doesn't really serve the small business who need capital like right away because these guys a lot of times are not looking to get capital so they can invest in a hotel in Dubai or anything like that. Sometimes they need to buy a fridge or spend on marketing, grow and expand and things like that, like day-to-day stuff, like operational things that which banks do not really offer. And correct me if I'm wrong because that's your background.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I used to work at Citibank, US Bank, and I mainly did my business loans at Citibank, lines of credit. But you're right. The deli, the small business owner, one of the number one causes of failure in business is lack of capital.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the top failure reason, meaning they're making sales, their sales are high, but maybe they're not collecting money from those sales. They have account receivables and they need sometimes a line or a loan secured against account receivables so they can get paid early so they can pay their
Mm-hmm.
employees. So I know with business owners, not every business owner is a cash business like a deli
No.
where they get paid right an account. A lot of businesses are an account receivable game where they're getting paid, but they're working with big companies, but the big companies are slow to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So you may do all the work, but they may pay you 6 months to a year later.
Yeah, so it's like they give you a check for net 90, net 120, right? So let's take an example. I met a guy who does fencing job. Like he has like 10 employees and he always wanted to bid on government projects because they usually pay more, right, than a commercial project. So he kept bidding on
Exactly.
these projects. He ended up getting one of them. I think he was supposed to put a fence around a school, elementary school. Whatever the number was, I think it was like 100,000. So it's going to take like, 3 4 weeks to do it. He has to put employees to work every single day and they get paid every Friday. So like, you 4 weeks into it, you got to keep paying him and they pay you. And but the check is due in 120 days, right? So for big companies, they work that way. It doesn't matter to them. They have the cash flow, the rotation. But for a small guy, the money is there, but they can access it, but they need to make the payroll. And the bank is like, well, we can't provide the funding. So we have an option called invoice factoring, for example, right? So they can technically sell that check And instead of getting 100% of it, they can get 94, 95% of it, get the money today and start using it. That's why, like you said, some businesses are transactional. You go buy your sandwich at a deli, you pay your whatever, $5, $10. But others, many of them do not really work that way. They provide consulting, and your client, let's say you're a legal firm and you invoice your client, they're going to pay in the next 60 days, but you already done the work and you need to still keep the lights on and pay your employees and do your marketing and pay your taxes and all of that.
Yeah, and also, my other question to you is, most people think that a brand new business cannot get a loan or a line. And can you clarify on that? Because I've seen a lot of YouTube videos, people looking for loans or lines of credit for their new business that just started. And then also, a follow-up question, do they need to be incorporated to get a loan?
Good question. Two answers. So can they get a loan even if they're not in business or they're brand new? Yes. So we have something called startup funding. Since let's say the business is not, they didn't set up their LLC yet and whatnot. They're not a corporation. Since we don't have revenue, we don't really do collateral. So that type of funding is based on the person's credit score, right? They have a 680 and above credit score. We can just use that and structure a startup funding. That's option one. The second option is it is a startup. They form the business, but the business is like 2 months old, right? So we still can do startup funding as long as they're a month in business and generating revenue. We have like a business line of credit option and a few other options that we can structure. If they have like 3 months and more, then a few other funding options open up. So like we meet them where they are. Obviously, I'm not saying every business is going to get funding. The underwriting still needs to be done. The lender needs to decide that Erik is able to pay this back if we give them the money. So it's not like guaranteed funding. At least they have the options. And what I find out is most businesses do not even know that exists. Like they either wait for the SBA funding to open up, and you need to be like in a year in business and $1 million in revenue. So that in between area is a lot of businesses fail because they don't have access to that transitionary bridge capital.
Yeah, that's very good you clarified that, because I know I had friends and family because I was in the business banking. They would ask me, "Hey, can I get a loan or line of credit? So I'm just starting out." And most of the time at a bank, they want you to wait 1 year, the business being 1 year. So, and
It's
I'm
like a
thinking,
joke, right?
I'm like, well, usually a business that succeeds the first year doesn't need capital unless they want to grow the business.
Yeah.
Because usually the first year is survival. That's like business. The first year is just survival phase, just surviving the first year, making sure you can
Yes.
break
It's very
either break
ironic, right?
even.
The bank is like survive the first year, then I'm gonna like it's almost like come to me when you don't need money, then I can provide it to you. If you need money, don't come to me. Like it's just a weird structure.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, this is a good business. And my other question is, what is a capital startup to be a loan broker? And also, can you do it part-time while you work a full-time job to transition from full-time job to full-time loan broker?
Good question. So, can you become so you can become a business loan broker for free. There's a lot of online resources. You can try to understand the business. We offer a training and it comes with a cost, and we have different packages, right? So, can someone figure it out on their own? Yeah, but they will need to figure out all the trial and error and finding the right lenders. What kind of funding options is available? How does the underwriting work and things like that? So we cover all of that, and we also get them set up at a set of lenders, our lending network, that we give them access to instead of them figuring it out on their own. And then to your second question, good segue, is one of the things that we find out when they are inquiring about our services that, all right, Erik, you want to do this, but how much time can you actually dedicate to this, right? So this is not like a get
Exactly.
rich quick thing.
What's the time commitment to
What?
be?
Yeah, it's like how much can you put? Because someone come to us, I have 3 jobs already. They're looking for like a
Three
safety
jobs.
line. And we're like, yeah, but how is it gonna work, man? Like you're putting in 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week, and you have a family. So it gets challenging, but can you do part-time? 100%. We have many people who start part-time. We tell them as long as you can open up 1 to 2 hours a day on average. So you use the 1 hour to learn, the other hour to take action, because the industry is very lucrative, Erik. So even one funded deal usually pays $2,000 to $4,000. So someone who's trying to fix their financial situation, they don't need to be funding 20 deals, right? So usually that 2 to 4K gets you to a place that maybe you quit the part-time job, or if you have two jobs, you slow down that one. So we have to start a lot of people at the part-time level, because I would never recommend someone burn all the ships and say goodbye to your boss and join us. That's not realistic. So you still have to keep a roof over your head. A lot of people start at a part-time level, and as they see the opportunity, that they can transition. So we help them. We create like a 90-day success plan when someone joins. We ask them a few questions to see what they're trying to accomplish, because sometimes people just want to have supplemental income, right? All I need is like a funded deal, or I always come across people who need funding. Can I just refer them to you and you guys do the work and you guys pay me something? So we come across those. Also, we have people who are a lot more entrepreneurial, and they say, hey, Oz, I ran businesses before. I want to grow this to like 100K per month. Obviously, the strategy that person will follow will be a lot different, and they need to put in full-time commitment. So we make sure that we align on our goals, so we don't set up like a pie in the sky number for them. So they transition from whatever they're doing into this over time. Or like we have professionals like CPAs, bookkeepers. They're usually not looking to become a business loan broker, but they come across a lot of their clients who need funding, and they end up sending them to like Bank of America or Citibank, and they get disappointed, right? So we tell them, do what you're doing, but add a funding element to your business. Like, we give you the technology, the AI framework, your landing pages. If someone says, Erik, the CPA, I need funding, what do I do? You can simply say, go to this link and apply, and they'll help you. So we have different segments of our audience, and we kind of try to understand their situation and come up with a customized plan.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I've always wondered what the time requirement is like, especially with a full-time job. And like you said, if you're working three jobs, maybe you should look at downsizing and then pursue the opportunity. But
Yeah.
uh, and I like to say, someone told me two jobs is usually for two people.
Interesting. Simple math, right? Hey, listen, man, I understand people are trying to figure out a way. What I tell people is, if you find yourself in a situation where you have to work two jobs, right? Maybe you might be on the wrong vehicle, meaning that what you're doing right now, obviously that person is very hardworking. Not many people want to work two jobs. So they have the
No,
work ethic,
no.
they're
So
working hard.
commend them.
Yeah, it's just there's like a commitment level. I'm like, yeah, but what you're putting that time into is not giving that return, the ROI. Maybe doing something that gives you a lower activity but a higher return, like an inverter structure, could be a better option. So that way you don't have to do that, because a lot of people are burnt out. They work a lot. They don't think they get paid enough. We just want to give them an opportunity, and helping them understand the financial literacy, how funding, how credit works, and things like that, so they can see the way out of like a light at the end of the tunnel type of situation.
Yeah, and then my other question is, do you have to incorporate or carry an E&O insurance being a loan broker, or what type of expenses are required to be a loan broker?
We recommend we have an accounting firm as one of our partners. So when someone joins, they have they jump on a call based on their situation. It helps them. They help them set up your LLC, incorporate you, and things like that. But do you have to? No. We as our lending network can still pay you as a 1099, you as an independent contractor. But we tell people, hey, if that's the case, we suggest you do that temporarily, because this is a business. So we suggest you incorporate and do it that way. So as of this moment, there's no really other fees other than whatever your state you're in. There's an incorporation fees, obviously, when you set that up. But as far as the insurance, our lenders are insured and they're licensed and all of that. If you want to, carry an insurance, it's up to you, but you're just brokering deals. So you're not a part of the underwriting. You're not funding the deal. So all the contracts are provided by the lenders. So they do that part. So most of that is their responsibility.
Exactly. And reading the book by Mark Cuban, running the sport of business is he talks about sales
Mm,
is one of the best professions, and loan broking is a form of sales. And I always say, if you're a salesperson, you never have to worry about working. There's always an opportunity out there, and the
absolutely.
opportunity, and the great thing about sales, all you're doing is talking to people. You don't have to lift bricks. You don't have to sling a
Yeah,
hammer. You
yeah.
don't have to. You just use your mouth and just talk, and then you get paid a lot of money for doing that.
It's a great skill set. And since we're talking about Mark Cuban, I was listening to an interview of him, and the interviewer was saying, Mark, a lot of people are concerned with the economy, the business, and all that stuff. What do you recommend? His response was like so clever. Is like, sales cures it all. Go sell stuff. Like if you're concerned about your bills, like, all right, no problem. Like learn how to sell, find a good product to sell and go sell it. And then whatever issues that you have, and then I know it's like very simplistic, it sounds cliche, but it's really not, right? If you develop the sales skill, if you find the right product that is in demand, I think many salespeople who suffer are selling products that's not really highly demanded. So it feels like a salesy, sneaky type of situation. But if you're selling money, money is the sexiest product, right? Either someone
Yeah.
that needs it or they don't need it. If someone says, I'm good, dude, I don't really need money, move on to the next person, right? Or you want to get money when you really do not need it. So we tell a lot of restaurants that we provide funding to in our network. Sometimes they're like, I'm in a good situation right now. We tell them, then that's fine. If you're in a good situation, let's set you up with a business line of credit when you do need it. Money is not that is expensive. You're just approved and you draw on it as you need it. So things like that is like a great opportunity also for sales oriented people. That's how I switch from selling like door to door products to like selling loans. And in a short amount of time, I built a referral network. So I didn't need to be out there, right? People would just call me and tell me, hey, my uncle was just talking about getting funding. Can you just talk to him? And then it become a lot simpler than selling some of the other products.
And also, business lending is an easier sell. It was easier for me when I worked at the bank because it's something a business needs. A business needs funding. All pretty much majority, I think like 90, 95% of a business needs capital. Some businesses don't need capital, but majority of them do. Especially businesses like delis, burgers, restaurants. They're very
Mm-hmm.
capital intensive businesses. Like for a restaurant, for example, they may need new oven, commercial refrigerator, or they may need to, like you said, account receivables. Maybe they're a seasonal restaurant where they're busy during the holidays or summertime, and then during the wintertime they're slow, and then they need a business line of credit to carry them over to the next.
Absolutely. Because they're on thin margins, Eric, right? So one of the industries that have very slow margins, like you said, and they use a lot of equipment and stuff breaks and it's unpredictable. If you're operating at a 5-10% profit margin and your $30,000 walk-in box stops working, you have stuff in there that's like should be frozen. That's like a 911 situation, right? So like you don't need to do a lot of selling. It's like, can you solve this problem? Because it's like selling water in a desert, basically. Like someone needs it. It's not like, oh, do I like this jacket or not? It's like, hey, like I need to get capital. And that's why like sales skill is important, but being a consultant is more important, like understanding what it is that they're going through. Because some businesses do not need the money urgently. So then we can offer other products that we can help them get access to, like SBA type of loans, like government backed funding, which takes a longer process, sometimes a few weeks, but not everyone needs urgent money. So they can get long-term financing up to like 10 years and things like that. So we train our people to be consultants, like ask the right questions. How long you been in business? What's like the credit score? How much do you need? What do you need the money for? And how soon do you need it? Like 5, 6 questions. That gives us a whole story of what's going on with the business, and we can match it to the right funding option.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then, but yeah, so I'm gonna start doing this on my show. I like to ask my guests, what is a book or course you recommend to the audience they buy besides your program?
I think any book from Alex Hormozy is great. I don't know if you know Alex Hormozy, a $100 million offer, $100 million funnel. He has like a series of 3 books. One is on leads, the other one is marketing, the other one is in sales. It's like they're structured like comic books, like super easy to read. You don't need to have a degree in business or finance or anything like that. So if you can get all 3 of them, and I think they're fairly cheap on Amazon, those are like life changing books, like understanding how a successful business. I mean, he built this business to hundreds of millions of dollars, and he used to be a gym operator, right? Like a big bodybuilder guy. Those are like, I want people to understand the fundamentals before they look into like more complicated stuff. So that's definitely, I don't think he has a course, but just the books. So you can, put Alex. I'm not affiliated with him. I don't make a commission out of it, but he's my mentor as well. I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, and then how do we find you and where are you located? Like where else can we find more about you?
All of my stuff is on our website, businesslendingblueprint.com. And from there, you can be directed to our YouTube channel. We have over 500 videos. A lot of them are like me interviewing our actual students, like where they came from, what's happening, and also training stuff. So our website is our hub, businesslendingblueprint.com. Then if someone wants to talk to us about becoming a business loan broker, they can jump on a call and we can show the options to for them to decide if this is a good fit or not. And I'm physically located in New Jersey. I don't know if that's what you were asking, but yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're not asking for your personal residence so people can say hello to you.
Stop by, man. I'm here. Yeah.
They may find you on the streets knocking on doors. They may find you there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In between the main street and the side streets, you're just yeah, you can catch me.
Yeah, but all right. Well, thank you so much. This is Erik Williamson. So I'm going to throw the disclaimer out. This podcast is for entertainment only. There's no financial, legal, tax advice or services. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Always do your own research. Consult with a licensed financial professional, tax professional before getting legal decisions. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and put your website in the show notes so the audience can find where you're at and maybe sign up for your services. I highly recommend being a business loan broker. It's a great business. I did that as a job, and I do recommend it to people. And if you can definitely reach out to us, go ahead and do that. That'd be highly recommended. So with that, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.